Political opinions aired, gender and sectarian divisions nowhere to be found. People feed and clothe each other here. Medical areas have been set up by doctors joining in with the protesters. The crime and sexual harassment so prevalent in the country seems absent in this square. So this is essentially the lost and found area, and people have been handing in all sorts of things, from ID cards that they found lying about to mobile phones, sunglasses. Some people have even come and handed in money and coins that they found just lying about. And it's all being protected by the protesters themselves, who have formed this human chain around this area to make sure nobody comes in and tries to take that's been found. But as the days drag on, tension grows. Organizers worried about infiltrators hostile to their cause are becoming increasingly suspicious of those coming in and those filming in the square.
We are preparing for everything and are afraid of anything that could spoil this revolution. People enter the square, but we don't know if they are with us or not. So we need to tighten the security.
Keeping the momentum going is key to this uprising. There are constant events to entertain and rally people. The more the government appears to be giving in to the demands of the protesters, the more ordinary Egyptians start to question the necessity of the sit-in. For those here, though, any change whilst Hosni Mubarak stays in power is cosmetic. And their message to the president is clear. Shireen Tadros, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
Well, Ahmed Saber is a member of Egypt's opposition El Qad party. He's been living in exile in the UK for more than 2 decades. He joins me from London. Thank you for being with us. Your party and its leader are, I guess, well positioned to take advantage of any change to the political system in Egypt. But given what we've been seeing and the way the opposition has been behaving, how confident are you that anything will come of the events of the past 2 weeks?
Let's first, we have to find the definition for opposition, and we have to define what is the meaning of the opposition party. If you are talking about what they call themselves opposition, and to go to meet Mr. Omar Suleiman yesterday, we said very clear that they represented themselves. They didn't represent the protester at all. This is, it should be very clear. I put it between 2 brackets and I keep it away. So this is very, very important.
This being my point, essentially, because a lot of people are now looking at the process that's been underway in the past few days in particular and said, and they say that the President Mubarak has done a very good job of dividing the opposition to the point where there doesn't seem to be anything credible available.
It is not clear or it is not correct when we call it Mr. Mubarak, he did or he will go to do. Mr. Mubarak is not exist anyway. When we look for all the view, we have to talk about Mr. Omar Suleiman. Mr. Omar Suleiman, he tried to split the people, but he didn't succeed. All of us, we understand very well what Mr. or General Suleiman he want to do, and I didn't think that he succeeded yesterday. He tried and he struggled to let us split from each other. If you are talking about opposition, so all of them, they come within the government party. All of them, which they met yesterday, all of them, they belong to the government party, except the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood is not a party. It is, we can call them as a movement. This movement, they admitted that they did mistake yesterday, but their opinion, they said we are going not to negotiate, just we are going as a dialogue. And the dialogue, it means that I can hear you, I can listen to you, but it doesn't mean that I will go to make negotiation and later on I have to back to my group and I ask them what it will be the next step. And this is what they did. So now in all the newspaper, in all the TV, they say that we make negotiation, which is not true. Yesterday, it was very clear from Muslim Brotherhood leadership like Mr. Dr. Assam Al-Aryan and the other. They said, we reject everything they said to us. We deny that we make any negotiation with them. We still in our situation that we are against this regime, until Mr. Mubarak leave or hand the power to other persons.
Okay, well, look,
They mean Mr. Omar Suleiman.
Sorry to interrupt, but effectively, I mean, everything you have said it seems to back up my point, and that is what you're saying is that there are various different parts of the opposition all basically doing their own thing. Where is the leader or the unity or the movement that will actually replace the Mubarak regime or the Suleiman regime, however you want to characterize it, with something different and more appropriate?
It is very clear. We have clear idea about it. We said if Mr. Mubarak, he want at least to hand the power to other person, he can give it to Mr. Omar Suleiman. But Mr. Omar Suleiman, he said, he refused. He said, I will not get any authorization from Mr. Mubarak. I will never ask him to do it. So how he is the he's vice president. And at the same time, he said, I have no authorization. So why you ask the people to negotiate if you don't have any authorization? So what is the point? How can we start? How can you start if you admit from the first that I don't have any authorization at all and I cannot talk in behalf of the president? So what you are doing exactly? So until now, we don't know what is exactly his authorization. We don't know what is exactly his job description. He has to make it clear what is exactly his job description now.
All right, Ahmed Sabar, we'll leave it there.
This is a problem. This is a dilemma.
Thank you for talking to us. Now, in an unprecedented move, Tunisia's parliament has passed emergency powers for the interim president. It comes as the main ruling party, the RCD, was suspended from all political activity. Nazanin Moshiri reports.
Democracy Tunisian style. Protesters try to stop politicians entering parliament. They're activists and lawyers who suffered under Ben Ali. And now they want this institution dissolved and the old faces of the regime out.
These nominated members of parliament are part of this regime, and we do not like them, and we do not accept them.
And inside Tunisia's parliament, scenes this country could only have dreamt of. Opposition politicians vent their anger at the RCD. The former ruling party was suspended on Sunday, but their members of parliament have retained their seats for now at least. And there were more big changes. An emergency vote was passed which gives extra powers to the interim president. So crucially, an election date can now be decided. Tunisia's Prime Minister told me it's an important step.
We will be able to fulfill our responsibilities, engage in a democratic path, and ensure human rights and fundamental liberties, as well as move our country forward.
What the Prime Minister, Mohamed Ghannouchi, is trying to do is unite Parliament and also the country behind this interim government. He says it's the only way not only to solve the economic situation, but also to bring back security to the streets. There's still frustration here. These protesters blame the police for the deaths of 3 demonstrators in the past few days. Weeks on from the Jasmine Revolution that brought about a dictator's downfall, violence and tension still remain. Nazanin Moshiri, Al Jazeera, Tunis.
Thai and Cambodian troops have clashed for a 4th day along their common border near a 900-year-old temple. Wayne Hay reports.
Living near the Thai-Cambodia border can come at a cost. In recent days, an ongoing land dispute has shattered the peace in this otherwise sleepy Thai settlement. The owner of this house told us she managed to evacuate before a Cambodian artillery shell landed at her back door. This was the scene the night before, dozens of Thai shells streaking across the sky towards Cambodia. Despite the aggression from both sides, the Thai Prime Minister called for a peaceful solution, but said his country will continue to defend itself.
When there is firing into Thai territory, it's necessary for Thailand to protect its sovereignty. We counter the attack and we return fire only at military targets.
However, Cambodian television showed footage of the ancient Preah Vihear temple in the middle of the disputed area, which they allege was damaged by shelling. In Thai territory, the soldiers remain on edge. At checkpoints, supplies are being rushed to the front line. The border villages are now largely deserted. People who have stayed behind say they're ready for more fighting. They've armed themselves and are preparing new bunkers to shelter in. Those who aren't digging in are being catered for in the relative safety of a nearby town. The residents who have fled the fighting have come here to evacuation centres. In this one alone, there are around 9,000 people. Most of them say they're in no mood to go home anytime soon.
I will continue to stay here until the fighting stops.
Given the tension on the border, these people may be here for some time yet. Wayne Hay, Al Jazeera, Kantaralak, Thailand.
The internet company AOL is